Welcome to the Wedding Pros podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Jared and I would say, what was it, last week at this point?
Mm-hmm.
In October, went to a really, really awesome event called VisionQuest. For those that don't know what VisionQuest is, no, we didn't go into the desert and do peyote and have a walkabout or whatever. No, it was an event put on by Alex and Whitney Douglas of Sculpting with Time. And
Legendary.
Yeah, it's industry legends, people who we respect a lot, everybody respects. And it's a workshop? I think it was marketed like a workshop, but I didn't think the experience was like a workshop.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's a better word for it. Experience.
Yeah,
the VisionQuest experience.
It was an experience.
Yeah.
And
less workshop items, like, you know, I've been to photography
but there was
workshops.
a lot of like sessions though.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it was like, it is a workshop, but most workshops that I've always been to have been like hands-on, like you put a camera in your hands and you follow people around and they say, this how, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I pose a couple, and there was a little bit of that, but it was like one session out of like 9, 10 throughout the day. So
Well, so
2 days.
just to preface,
No.
I have never been to any kind of workshop, creative workshop in 9, 10 years of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I've pretty much been anti-workshops mostly,
Yeah.
not because I think I'm
You
so...
don't say.
So I was talking to Alex probably 5 months ago, and I was like, ask him some questions about either mentorship or coaching or something, like, because he used to do coaching sessions that he would sell. And I believe in coaching, by the way. I think if you should find a mentor or a coach, you should pay them, make it, and like, I think that's a great way to grow. And so he's like, hey, I'm not doing that right now, but I want to let you know about something I am going to be doing. It's working on a workshop that's more geared towards experienced people. And I was like, oh, let me know about that. That sounds really interesting, because the reason I haven't been to these things is pretty much they're not really for, like, you went to a workshop as a photographer. I felt like you were like, I need to learn a little, right?
Yeah, it was a photography workshop, and it was pretty much just, you know, not presets, but it's how to work with a couple, you know, and how to edit, how to shoot packages, that kind of stuff. Like, kind of like nitty gritty, because I was trying to get, you know, this last year was my first year back as like a full-time photographer, and I've been wanting to get better as a photographer and kind of straddle, you know,
so
the
you
film
felt
and
like
photo side. So I wanted to get better as just technical, like know-how, make it much more of a fluid part of my process. And
but you had felt like as a video person, probably the same as I did, where it's like, there's nothing for me.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me that really was more about like, for experienced people who are looking to level up to the like another level.
Yep.
Or
well, and any video ones that would come up would be like Ray Roman's workshop, and it was like, cool, like that sounds good, but you know, just we'd never had the opportunity to really go to one. Like, it's in
it was like
the season,
the bang for the buck maybe wasn't there.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep. For one reason or another, we didn't make it.
Anyway, the other reason this was appealing to me, because not only was it for experienced people, but we made a decision over the last year. I was like, I want to get a little more involved in this community. And like, very quickly, you see people who you connect with and you gravitate towards for one reason or the other, you know, and like people like David Lee, who's going to be a guest on the podcast next week, in case you're a listener.
Ooh, there's a teaser.
Yeah.
All right.
Bobby Burns, you know, and just the guys who were in a fantasy league with like Nick Johnson and Jordan Bunch.
We're in a fantasy league.
Alex.
You and Bobby are really just spectators.
Me
at
and
this point,
me
right?
and Bobby are
Kind of
not doing so hot, but we're in a fantasy league with these guys, and like there's just like we've made some relationships that were all digital internet relationships. I know for me, I was like excited about, hey, let's go put a face to a name, like and get to actually meet some of these guys. Yep. But anyway, that was why I was like, hey, I want to go to this.
Yeah, yeah, and like, for whatever reason, in the last year, you and I have really gotten involved in like online threads and just like, hey, we do want to get more involved with the videographer community.
There really isn't a very strong community.
Well, I think it's still pretty young. still. And I would say in general, the videography community is probably 5 years behind
wedding films specifically.
Yeah, wedding films. It's probably about 5 years behind the photography industry as far as like development. Like people grasped onto photography pretty early, and I mean, people have been doing this for a long time. But I feel like when it became very popular, was like, 2007, 8, 9. That's when I noticed a lot of my friends are like, who are creative, like, hey, I wanted to start doing weddings, and just because it seemed like there was creativity being infused into the industry right around that time. And then we started in like 2010. We're like, hey, we want to get into this video community. Maybe, we saw still motion. I heard about Ray Roman pretty early on, and a lot of the speakers that were actually at this at VisionQuest.
That's a good jump on.
Yeah.
So just in case you're wondering, why did they decide? So the other reason we decided was also the lineup. So this was like Alex and Whitney Douglas from Sculpting with Time, Henry Martens, Sharon from Fiore Films, Ray Roman, which was like a last second add-on after I even bought my ticket already. And I was like, what?
Ray, who was like, I was just going to buy a ticket and come. And then, Alex asked me to speak. I was like, oh, sure. Yeah.
Ray is exactly how you would expect him to be. If you're listening, Ray, you're the best. Really appreciated what you brought to the table. It was really, really fun. Jordan from Film Mavericks was there.
Aaron Tharp,
31 Films. But then like the people who are going, like Matt Johnson was there. The guys from How to Film Weddings were there.
Yep.
Like pretty much anyone.
John Bunn, Nick Miller.
Yeah, I mean, we were just like, I got to go to this. I can't miss this thing. And the lineup was just so incredible. And these are people that we just, when we were looking for inspiration, whether it be from a business side or just creatively. So
it really did feel like Woodstock, the first Woodstock of just like, hey, I've met all these people that I've looked at all their films, and like, if you're a filmmaker, I mean, and you're watching someone else's film, they're doing something right because you're obsessed with whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
like, I don't watch.
You've said it before.
Films.
You don't watch people's films.
No,
I don't watch people's films.
But I mean, all those guys are doing things that I'm like, wow, I really, grasp onto an element of their work that's just like, it's worth my 5 minutes of time watching the whole film.
Well, not only that, you're like, this isn't like a knock, because I don't think it's a bad wedding film if I know exactly how you made it. It could still be a very good wedding film if I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
This could be a great film. Like, couple could love it. I would probably have maybe made the exact same film, whatever.
Yep.
But like, there are times where I watch some of their films where I'm like, how did they make that? Like, how did they find time to do? Usually the time part is what goes through my head. Where do they find time to do that?
Yeah.
Yep. And like, these were people I wanted to hear from. And because I'm like, I want to see this. They must think a different way. They must plan a different way. And some of it was exactly that. So let's talk a little bit about our impressions. We kind of, if you didn't get a chance to go, hopefully you feel like you're missing out, because it was, overall, here's what I would say. It was an incredible time.
Yes. Yep.
It was awesome. Like, it was literally way better than I would have imagined it would have been.
I think I went into VisionQuest with absolutely no expectations of anything. Like, we had just come back. We just came back from a week-long trip to Italy, and it was like, that was just exhausting. And it was like, okay, we're doing VisionQuest at the end. It's going to be good to hear some of these people talk. But like, zero anticipation. Well, I was anticipating going and excited about going, but not really knowing what to expect. It was like, well, this is going to be cool hearing these people
literally
speak.
Like, you're like, are these people going to think I'm a dork? Like, or is it, like, am I going to meet like these people that I've been talking to online and they're like, this guy?
Yeah.
You don't know what it's going to be like. It was like the first day of school, kind of.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how it felt like. Like, the first day I came out of the hotel room, we stayed at a motel, and walk outside,
Austin,
and it was
so
outside.
It was a hipster.
I was outside. I had my backpack on. And I look to the right, and I see David Lee walk out of his motel room and smell the air with his camera. And he started walking, and then I started walking. It was like this whole cinematic piece. I was like, this is the first day of kindergarten, like videography kindergarten. We're all going to and then we take the scooters we took the little scooters to the first venue.
I was in Austin, Texas, by the way.
Just like kindergarten.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think just getting to meet not even the speakers, but like get to meet the people that just or attending, you're just like, man, I have an opportunity to talk to these people too. Like,
Yeah.
and then not just, Matt, who has like a huge, YouTube following, but just people that maybe I haven't heard of before. And I'm like, man, they put together really good films.
Well,
Like,
and there was only about
well.
100 people there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this was a very small crowd. And I would say there was mostly, I would say, very experienced people.
Yeah.
Who are running very solid businesses, a few new people, which I think was a great place for them as well.
And a couple of people that
then,
weren't even doing weddings.
Oh yeah, some people who just want to hang out.
Yep.
And then there was like the upper crust of the entire industry that were there. And so what was cool for me is like, I think if you're listening to this and you're creative, and I've seen this with wedding planners too, like they all have Engage Summit or whatever, like these connection points. And videographers, man, we're weird. Like we don't connect. Like if you're coming from a different industry in the wedding industry, and you're thinking like, so what? They had a conference, whatever. It was a big deal for us. Yeah. To have a conference that was like
even the people in our backyard, like Ben, Mercedes, and Matt Garza, like guys that are in, our backyard. We never get together. We never get to hang out and just like, shoot the shit, to pardon the pun. But it was good just meeting up with guys that are in our backyard, and we're like, man, we gotta like get together more and just like hang out. Yeah,
I think this idea of like, so let's just talk about kind of our personal impressions of it. What did we learn? And then maybe what did we like? Maybe something technical that we learned, and then maybe what was like our takeaway emotionally, and what did we get most out of it? So, here's what this might seem like. Exactly what you think I would say. Literally, I loved leaning over Ray Roman's shoulders and just taking pictures of his pricing. And he's like, this is all my pricing. This is how I do everything. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is like gold.
The secret sauce.
Like, you're getting this information. He's just like casually kind of going through it.
And I was looking at you take a photo, and then I'm looking around. I'm like, everyone's with their phones out. Like, this is like the secret recipe.
Well, I'm doing it, and then
maybe break into the luxury wedding film market.
Well, I did it. Matt Johnson comes up to me and goes, "Text me that." and it was like just looking, and then I really loved that. I loved what Ray talked about pricing. Ray is savage. He'll just straight up tell you like
Godfather.
Ray Roman. I mean, the guy. It was funny because I was like, Alex and Whitney were like our video mom and dad.
Definitely.
But Ray was our grandpa.
Definitely. The first day, Alex kept on coming up to everyone, I felt like, and being like, "How you doing, man? You having a good time?" Whitney's the same way, like making jokes with everyone, making everyone feel comfortable, like just so excited that you're like over, like in their backyard having a barbecue.
Oh yeah. So awesome. So from a learning standpoint, it was also a lot of fun to get behind the curtain a little with, I think with both Alex and with Henry, when they talked a little bit about just some of the shots they got or some of the sound design ideas they had and how they implemented them and how they tried certain things and they didn't work. Like whether the French reading guy or the guy who they got to play the guitar part, just these are like the way that they thought about pre-production was really helpful to me. And it's like, it's not something that we don't do. We don't maybe do exactly that, but it's like, I know how to do pre-production, but you're like, it does embolden you to do more. And that was an awesome, like, I took that away and I really got a lot out of that.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I took away from both of them, to stay in that theme, was to make something really great and really creative. It really just takes a lot of thought, but the time, right? So like, Alex would say, sometimes I work on a film for like 3 weeks of editing, and he'll like come back to it and, really take some time to like knead at that product and like really feel it until it feels perfect. And like, I look at my own self and I was like, I just don't have the time to do that. So my biggest hurdle right now, and the thing I kept on thinking about, is like, how can I get to that point where I can really give a product love and attention the way that these guys do?
Because, they would hate making what we have to.
Yeah. So I'm like, how can I reel myself back and delegate. I need to be It's funny because Aaron was really the only person that talked a little bit about delegation. But I was like, they didn't talk about it at all. But that's one thing that I took away was like, I need to delegate better so that I can create this time, so I can create the art that I know I can dive into. So that's one thing. That was something I talked about, but that's one thing that I took away.
It's like, that was the interesting thing about the whole thing is like, you end up, I'd said this when I was down there. I was like, I always kind of imagined the way that they thought about things because I'm like, I don't know, that's just important to me.
Yeah.
When I look at someone's art, I'm always like, what were they thinking? Why do they, like, what kind of person is this person? And I felt like every one of those people is exactly the person I imagined that they would be.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of how they think about it. And I was like, I thought that was so cool that like their personality comes through in what they make. And I think that's a really important thing. And when I look at how do you make like any art, but I mean, even wedding films, like on some level, we have worked really hard to create something that isn't super essential, right? Because we don't want clients to feel like, oh, you're not getting our best, right? Because we don't believe that. We believe you're getting something great. But on another level, the benefit of putting yourself fully into something is that it becomes totally unique.
Yeah.
And I think like that you could see that, and it comes through in just all the little choices and all the little, like even like when I started talking to Alex about the films he likes, and there were these quirky, weird little films, and a lot of stuff. He's like a nerd about that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can see it, especially when you go back and watch the way he makes his films. It's like, it's almost like throwback. Even though it seems really modern. Yeah, it seems modern because he's using tricks, but like the way he creates that tension, it's throwback.
Yeah.
And I think that was cool for me. It was like
I started watching Solaris.
Oh yeah.
Because of Alex.
Yeah,
I was like,
how did
I
you
need to
feel?
and talking to you, we were talking a little bit about old films, and I was like, hey, I do need to watch some of these because they're, the foundation of
I just
what
think
good films are.
70s filmmaking is like so underrated.
Yeah.
Because like they were at like the tippy top of like, that was another thing I took out is Ray Roman saying tippy top a lot. So I want to add that to my language. They're at like the top of their technology field before like the 80s started and different things. So they were like using every bit of creativity to squeeze out of those films. And like, it was all about like, and there was like no rules because Hollywood hadn't fully taken off.
No.
And there's still like grindhouse theater. And there was all this like different ways of display. Like there were no rules. It was like,
it's awesome. It's awesome. And it seems like so elementary, but back in the day when they were making these films, it was so difficult to just do the most simple thing. But yeah, I appreciated that. And even like in watching Henry's films, I knew the things that he was into. Like the first night we were on the boat, right? And we were, everyone's having dinner and having a drink. And there's a DJ playing, and all these wedding videographers are on this boat going down the river. And then Henry, out of all people, hops on the dance floor and starts dancing and starts giving his hat to all the different people in the crowd, and a dance floor erupts. And I just knew that's exactly what Henry was like, because you watch it in his wedding films. He hops in and he's actually dancing with these people, having a good time, and it's a sliver of who he is as a person. So.
You don't get the wedding films you get by mistake. Even no. Sharon I had no idea what to expect. Even she's New York, so I was expecting New York, and I guess the grittiness from the color and stuff. But I think that was a real treat.
Yeah,
I feel like she's very unique in our industry, like because it's just like she's very focused on what she's doing.
Yep.
And like I think there is an evolution. Obviously, she talked about some of the things but it's like I feel like she's just kind of like herself and like almost in her own world almost in terms of that industry. And it was so fun to hear, like she was so funny and like super down to earth.
I think she's one of those people that I look at her work and I'm like, I don't even want to try to do it.
Yeah, she doesn't even
Because it just seems so different to the way that I shoot, even though she shoots the same exact, same exact cameras we use. She's just approaching it in a way different way than we do, with lighting that's just like unbelievable looking. Like I would be so stressed out thinking about the way that she has to think about a day, because it seems so intense, the way that she just lights everybody. She sets up her shots and then she just lights them. And then she's using all of these like tricks. And she said she's trying to do less tricks, to make her transitions, but it's all in her brain. Like she's got
editing
crazy,
while she shoots.
Yes.
She's like, I'm going to do a whip here and I'm going to do this.
I'm going to whip into this moment. And
and it's like, I tend to think a little more like that, which is like one of the things, like when we're shooting together, I'm like, what if we did this? You're like, I don't want to do that. That's cheesy. And like, I like the idea of like, I can really gravitate towards what she does, because I don't love holding a camera in my hand. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not something I like. Composing and I like editing. Mm-hmm. And I like putting someone in good light and letting them just be in the good light. Mm-hmm. Like, motion is cool, but it's like a lot of movies I enjoy don't have motion. Yeah. They're just people sitting there. Mm-hmm. And it's well composed. It's interesting. It's like a place for something to happen. It's not the thing happening. And even though I like motion too, it's like I can appreciate the very restrained
I think
use.
you do like motion. You like a lot of like those transitions of like.
I like motion in a story. I don't like necessarily gimbal everything.
Camera mode. You like action in the subject as opposed to action in the camera.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. And it's just, but either way, it's interesting because there's just so many different ways of thinking about how you can make your film. And if you get in one little stream, maybe you forget and you close yourself off to creativity.
I mean, I almost felt guilty sitting in this, because I felt so complacent, because we've created this thing and it's great. Like I was talking to a planner this morning, and she was like, you know what? Like, what we really just want this day, this is a high-end client, and honestly, they don't care about their film. Like, they're like, we want it, it's great, but we don't want it to be inconvenient.
Leave us alone. Don't what race?
And I'm like, great. Stop Go Love is perfect for you. We're the most unobtrusive people you'll ever meet in your life. Like, and there are people that want that product. As we're developing this other product, I was just like, I know these people have money, and if I wanted to push, a Huxley product to them, they have the money to pay it, but they're not a good Huxley client,
Not a good fit.
So, like, Stop the Love is great. It really fits a certain niche, and that's great. But I did feel complacent, me personally, as an artist, being like, well, I get really comfortable with this product. I know exactly what I want, and we get it every single time, but it's never really pushing the boundaries of what I can do as an artist. So, that's one reason why I'm excited about Huxley, is it's scary as a creative.
Yeah. And so the other thing just that I took out of it is, for me, getting connected to people in a social way was really healthy. Mm-hmm. 'Cause like
Facebook sucks. It's the worst. It's the worst place to have a real conversation, where everyone just seems like they're showing off and like pouring out their information. And they could be doing it in a good way, but perception is everything.
Well, and also like, it's not a real conversation.
No.
It can become that down the line, but it's not good enough on its own. Like, I talked to David Lee or whoever, Bobby, but it wasn't the same as having lunch with people. Yeah. It's not, you cannot replace FaceTime. And I felt like now I feel like I have friends in the industry, people that are really, it's funny, like, and these are nice people too. Like, they always say, like, don't meet your heroes. And when you get to meet some of these people and like literally, and like, I hope Alex listened to this, because I so appreciated like the energy they brought, and like Alex coming to me and like literally expressing just heartfelt gratitude, and just being a good, like a human and a good person and kind, and like, I've been in other professional settings where I meet people and I'm like, ugh.
It's a pissing contest.
Yeah.
And that is one of the main differences, I think, from going to some of the photography workshops that I've been to is like no one's really trying to learn. Everyone's just trying to like one up one another, and it's like, this isn't fun. Like,
or get something out of somebody.
And that I didn't feel that way once at VisionQuest. I felt like everyone was so grateful to just be around one another. And that's a cultural thing. And I think that does come from like, it came from Whitney and Alex. It came from Ray. It came from all those guys. And one of the biggest takeaways is like, wow, everyone in our industry is actually like, the most successful people are really like some of the nicest people.
Well, and then we've always said that,
Yeah.
like, kill your ego, be humble,
Yeah.
be nice to people. But it like actually works.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're like listening to this and you're like, what is Henry Martens
it's
like? Henry Martens is freaking ridiculously nice.
And I think it's because at the end of the day, you value people, right? And that shines through in your films. Like if you value people in the way that you just talk to them, you're going to value the way that you create a film for them because you have a certain level of respect for people in general.
Well, you know, and this is just off the top of my head. I never thought about it a lot, but with photography, there's a certain level of aloofness that I think comes with portrait photography. Like a portrait of a person is supposed to be like an outside in kind of experience, right? Where like you're taking a picture of this person and they look like they're in another world possibly, or like it's, some people take very intimate photos, but some people take very disconnected photos, fine art kind of feeling, editorial feeling. Like you don't look at it and go, I feel intimacy, right? Wedding filmmaking, because it's moving and it's talking and it's sound, it takes a level of personal involvement to make a great one. Because I think you can make a great wedding photo and be really, really connected. But like this, I don't know the guy, but when I see a Jose Villa photo, I don't think like he must have been best friends with this couple or he must really know them. I think this is a really good photographer. These are really rich people. It's really beautiful. Like they literally could have walked in, been like, stand over there. Okay, I'm gonna take this photo, and that would have been fine. I don't think you can get away with that approach making a really great wedding film. I think you have to have either you're invested in their story, you're invested in a place, or you're invested in that relationship. There has to be something in there where you have some skin in the game, and it's personally like you're being vulnerable in some way. You can't really make very, very good wedding films. You can make passable wedding films being very distant. But I think like even when they were talking about the couples that they dealt with that didn't really want to deal with them on the level that they normally deal with, they were like, okay, so I wanted the place to be a big thing. Yeah. Or, oh, I knew I was going to have this story. Like there was this part where they were engaging personally with how to tell the story. And I think it comes across in the real life. Like they were wicked nice people. Like if you're listening to this and you're wondering what are these people like, from top to bottom, and this is just 2 days with them, who knows, but these people were amazing. I was blown away by how nice these people were. Like they didn't treat other people around them like lowly videographers. They never see my work. I might be terrible, and then like I'm standing there and like Henry and Matt Johnson are like, oh, look at this thing on this new 32-bit float. And
I really hope it doesn't become that because it's so easy to do as creatives. But I think one of the things that I noticed a lot is like videographers, like we don't really, and we just talked a little bit about it, but like we don't really see each other, talk to each other, and it feels so good to be able to just vent, not even vent, but just
there wasn't a lot of like complaining or whining.
No, but like, oh man, this is what it's so lonely doing this job, and it's hard doing this job, and just having other people to talk to. I felt like everyone was so just grateful to be around one another and like be taking on not just what the speakers were saying, but just just as valuable to me was the conversations that I had with people that I've never even heard
More
of before.
valuable.
Or maybe
I'd
mentioned, we had gone back and forth on a Facebook conversation about pricing structure or something like that or something. But just diving into, oh man, this is the hardest part for me, bro. Just having vulnerability. And that was some of, Jordan's session really brought that on a little bit more. But man, like I'm just so grateful. I walked away feeling so grateful for just that core. I feel like core of the industry, really. Like that was the core of the industry.
Yes. There was obviously
you know,
some people that weren't there that I would say
yeah.
super
Totally.
weddings and
Totally. You could swap
Wine
them in.
Reverie, and there's
But
some.
you won't get that feeling going to WPPI or, you know, any of these like, you know, things where wedding videographers that they go to. It was just refreshing and empowering, really. Like I'm like, I can do this, you know, like we've been shooting a lot of like different style, much more cinematic, much more boutique type of wedding films, and getting into that feel. And I'm like, can I do this? Like, am I able to actually do this? And kind of doubting, you know, it's the end of the wedding season. Everyone's a little bit burnt out. And after going to that, I was like, we can totally do this.
Yeah,
Like,
let's kill it.
it's totally possible. And I feel like the people that were there actually want me to get better. Like they want to raise the industry up to a certain level. And it's not like, I want to be here, but you better not become my competition. You know, I didn't get any of that feel. And so it's just a great environment. Like I really hope they do it again. I think they're going to do it again. But I really hope they do it again. And I think they should. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot because we want to bring a few of our people next year, but they could totally raise the prices.
Honestly, so the very last thing I did, I went to the hotel lobby waiting for my Uber.
Yeah.
Ray comes down and Alex comes down. It's me, Ray, and Alex and Whitney
Yeah.
in the lobby. And I was like, Alex, you got to charge more.
Yeah. It's so good.
Like
That was probably, I mean, that was worth a $5,000 ticket to me.
Yeah, it was, I mean, there was all, besides the sessions, there was 2 or 3 different social outings.
Yeah.
We had a DJ session from the guy who made the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Yep.
There was a bunch of cool giveaways. I'm wearing my shirt right now.
Nerd.
Yeah, I just wanted to be cool. And so,
I brought my Henry Martens and David Lee hat
oh yeah,
to be cool.
my wife told me I couldn't wear it.
Yeah, so I just had this hat forever, and honestly, I haven't worn it once. And
Then you got empowered.
and then I got empowered, and I was like, I need to really become a wizard. I already have the beard, and all I need is the hat. The wedding wizards.
The wedding wizards.
Yeah, so that's what I found. You either have to have a beard or a hat. So I'm channeling all my.
I enjoyed talking gear, by the way, with people who actually will talk gear with me.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm so, like, Facebook friends, Facebook people. When you watch these threads and everyone has the same freaking questions every day, and it's like literally something to the degree of, what is a good camera?
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, I don't know, dude. You're like, literally, like, whatever, any camera. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, and that's what made it that good was it was for experienced people.
Yes.
So like everyone there at least knows what you're talking about. Like, oh yeah, we looked into that.
I want to show you
but
what I
we
want to
went
talk
this way.
about.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what grip is this? Because I was like, oh, I don't like this grip I have.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, I'm not gonna post that on Facebook forum. It's like,
You know what's
grips?
funny about you is like, I'm all about ergonomics, and you are about the gear itself. It isn't even like
I want to.
it isn't even like to use practically. You're like, oh, I have it, and I love
I
it.
want to build.
feel
No,
it.
it's about systems.
You want to, yeah.
I want to build the thing.
You want to build the system,
and then it's done. And then I'm like, I'm done with this.
and I'm like, I hate this. I have to. I don't care about the stuff itself.
What I
guess
actually,
I do.
what I
nerd out
actually
about
want
that.
to do is make Jared want to use something.
Yeah. Yes, because when I get it in my hand, I'm like, okay, now this
So
feels
if
really
you're
good.
like, I don't like
and this
that.
image looks good, and then I'm like, now I'm happy.
I literally,
Yeah.
so like, we don't have everything that Henry has, but I was like, that's the rig Jared wants.
I just want something
And
that's
I was
not
like,
on my shoulder.
So I go
and
up
like,
to the thing,
yeah.
and then I'm like, all right, yeah. So I like these. Oh, these handles are the best. But I almost bought these another time, and then now I get to touch them.
Yeah.
But it was just like stupid stuff, like just uber nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about codecs, talking about compression, talking about all this stuff that like I just wouldn't talk about on a Facebook thread.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know why.
And it really was like a
It
mix.
comes across organic too.
Yeah. Wedding videographers, you're kind of forced to have to learn everything, but there is like, I wouldn't say Alex is a gearhead. I would say he knows his gear, but he wants to create the art, and like the gear is a means to the art, right? But then you have
Seems
other
like that.
people who are just like super techie, like they love the tech and they're able to create the art with the tech.
What's funny is when he posted that thing, you were like, why does he have a Nikon lens? And I was like, I knew exactly why I had a Nikon lens. I was like, he's lens whacking.
Yeah, because I was like, why do you have a 50 Canon and then you have a 50 Nikon? Like one's a 1.2, one's a 1.4. And then the Nikon was the old vintagey lens that he could just lens whack the crap out of. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like, it was fun to have that kind of conversation where you're getting really, really
You just come at it from this way and I come at it from that way.
Well, but it's funny because, like, there's a handful of really gear. Like, David Lee is a gear guy.
Oh yeah, David Lee is definitely a gear guy, but his art is also incredible.
I mean, Henry is the same way.
Yeah.
But like when you see, you can actually have conversations that are very like about how I actually do my job. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is how I'm going to hold this.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to like. I'm holding this thing and I'm not seeing it the way I want to see it because I'm having issues with my focus. And like, those are very nuanced conversations that like, I don't think really happen that well on the internet as much as they could, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
But
there's
when
no
I'm in
nuance
person,
in any kind of Facebook conversation, like at all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So let's just, in conclusion, and we'll have a little bit of a shorter one today, but kind of like, what has been like the lasting effect for you in terms of like, you've been away for a week. What was like the biggest takeaway?
I would say Alex mentioned something in his session that resonated with me. And he said, don't do things that don't give back to you. And so that's been my challenge right now is when I am writing this email, is it something that is giving back to me creatively or financially? I think there's a balance there, but I think personally, I've gotten to a place where it's like, we're just like, we have to make a living. And now I'm like, I need a little bit more balance right now. Like, do you really have something that only I can do? Other people can, we just got an office admin. We got Natalia. She's awesome. But she's helping with that. Balance me out so that I can do the things that really give back to me, not only financially, but also creatively. Like, and that's a place that I'm being challenged to get to. And I think VisionQuest was the biggest eye-opening thing to me was like, this has to give back to me creatively and getting back to the roots of like the creative that I think I am naturally. So yeah, I'm excited.
See, I love I've said this for a while. Like, I love storytelling. It's why I like movies. It's why I like the Bible. It's why I like any of the music. At the core of it all is like, that's why I like food. I always tell people like food is storytelling. Mm-hmm. If I eat a certain food, I know what your life is like in your country, where you're from. Like, you learn through everything is telling you a story. The world's always telling you something. Mm. And I feel like
it's art.
For me, wedding films a lot of times have become so boring to the point where like you can get borderline cynical about the job because you're just like, yeah. Drone shot, intro, push in to the bride, there's like those are limitations on how to tell that story that I think are real. Mm-hmm. And it can be frustrating creatively and like, just if you don't get outside of your own paradigm, I think it's harder to think of a new way to tell that story. And things you can do to make it interesting to you. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, the biggest thing was like seeing how other people approach it and also seeing that other people felt the same way. Like that kind of, not burnout, just boredom. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if people felt burned out. I didn't hear that a lot, but like kind of just like the cynicism about like, of course I know what it's going to be and blah, 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 blah. And like, at the same time, like, connecting with, okay, of course there's a human part. And that's the part that keeps me going, right? Is like, these clients deserve the best. These clients, it is a real human moment. It matters what we're doing, but artistically speaking, it's not that exciting. As a storyteller, it's not that exciting to me. And like, really, like, that's because like I'm not editing. Because I like to edit. Like I'm more interested in what I'm going to do with the footage after than what I'm going to do with it day of. Like, I have a hard time getting excited about shots because I'm like, especially when I'm not going to edit it. I was shooting a wedding on Saturday and I was like, I know what I would do with this in post. I know he's not going to do what I would do. And I was like, that's a sucky feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, I know exactly how I would shoot this and how I would use it, and it would be cool and everyone would like it. But he's going to look at it and not know what to do with it or not value it.
Yep.
Which is fine. But I think for me, that was the thing that was exciting, is like, I need to get to that place where I'm able to actually make something that I feel like I don't think shooting a wedding film is making a wedding film. That's just how I feel. I feel like the editor is the one who makes the wedding film.
Yep.
And I know that flies in the face of people who want to outsource all their edits. But like, I feel like if a lot of wedding films, if Alex edited it for you, would look like Alex's work.
Yeah. And
if he color graded it and he edited your work, like it would feel more like Alex's work than your work.
Yeah.
And I think
there's an industry standard. And I think that's another thing that I really took away is that the boring thing you mentioned, I think I have a hard time calling it boring because I think
it's
that's
just boring to me. It's not
totally
inherently boring.
And that's what it is. And I think that's what I don't know. People might kill me for that, but I think that's what most people want is they want to see themselves on camera.
Yeah. Good business.
And they also want to see, the story unfold because to them it's new and it's exciting. And it's like, at the end of the day, your client is who you work for.
Yep.
I do think when you do that, a lot, it's pretty easy to get burnt out because it just becomes a job to you. And it takes the art completely out of it. You maybe create systems and, there's art in the systems and all these things.
Well, and also the idea of like making something like the only I can make, making something that like,
because I'll tell you what, like that's the industry standard. That's what 95% of the industry is doing is really the same thing. And you'll have some, kid who's in college be like, I want to do something completely different than all you people. And you're like, dude, you just learned how to, but I think there is an element because I watched films from all of the speakers really that I'm like, that's different. That is actually different. And it's not something that you can create overnight. Something that has a lot of forethought into it, a lot of like restless nights thinking about like, how can I make this an actual story? And those are the outliers. And I think that's the thing that separates, the people that are in that, not even luxury, but the people that have a very set brand.
Artistically, they're making something unique and special.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they make a lot of money or not. I'm assuming they do well, but like, no matter how much money they make, they're creating something unique.
Yep. And I think the photo industry has done that. You have your mainstream photographers. We work with photographers every single weekend. I'm like, for the most part, I mean, they all do the same thing. So there's that industry standard of like, I want the portraits. We're going to do a first look. Photos look the same. We're going to do portraits afterwards. Photos pretty much look the same. And it's just industry standard. And I think our part of the industry has gotten that down. That's what it is. It's not necessarily boring. It's just what it is. It's the work that we put in every single weekend. Yep. But then you have someone like Benj, you have someone like Jose Villa, you have all these people that are a little bit more outliers that are like, that's why they are in that higher tier because they can differentiate themselves from that, industry standard.
Well,
but I think it's good.
How can you look for opportunities in a quality way, and the other cool thing is all those people, Ray's like, well, they don't want me to do any of those weird stuff. I'll get fired if I'm a hassle.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And every one of them, I think on some level said like Alex talking about this couple didn't let me they didn't want to have any portrait session. Mm-hmm. Right. Dealing with like people who don't want to be bothered and dealing with the same type of people, but being creative in how they did it.
Yep.
Is like, same situations, different way of thinking about it, different approach. And that was exciting to me. That was something that I'm like, how do I apply that in a way that's exciting to me to make me enjoy doing this again?
Yeah.
Because in order to go to the next level, it's going to take a lot more commitment and time. And I'm not going to put a lot more commitment and time into making the same old thing.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm bored with that.
Yep.
Like I can train that.
Yep.
Why would I do that? I need to do something only I can do. And I think if there's a takeaway, I would want any creative to get like, workshops are good, especially if you find one that is with people that inspire you and really looking for opportunities beyond just the learning parts, but
getting around people with like minds.
Yeah, connecting and relationships are really what will drive you forward.
Yeah.
But like the other thing is like look for something about your art that only you can do. In the way that you could do it. I mean, there's nothing like everyone can do lens whacking. There's nothing unique about any color grade in the whole world.
Yeah.
Like anyone can dial in the exact setting that you dial in.
Yeah.
Like that's not what will separate you.
Yeah.
Like what will separate you is, if you make pasta and I make pasta and we use the same ingredient and the exact same tools, it will probably taste different. It's the hands touching it, the mind doing it. It's like those intangibles that make you. Like leaning into your personality and leaning into your passions and the things that you love to inform your art.
Yeah.
Like I loved seeing like Ray Roman act exactly his art is precise.
Yeah.
And that's Ray. They ask him, why are you in this industry? He goes, the money.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's Ray.
Yeah.
Like it comes across in what he's making. It's precise. It's clean. It's calculated. He's like, I'm the brand. It's all about the brand. He dresses the way you think he would dress. He talks the way and Henry the same way. All these people, like they have found a way to really lean into their own personalities, into what they make. And I think that is why their art really stands out to people. Other people, and a lot of us, we're just trying to copy someone.
Yeah. Yeah. There was I read this book and I always refer to it with our guys, Visual Poetry by Chris Orwig.
Oh yeah.
Good book, but the one takeaway that I always remember from that book is he was talking about an instructor that came to the school and all the students were like, what can I do to become a better photographer? And the guy was like, if you want to be a better photographer, you need to learn how to be a better person, like be a more interesting person. And I think that's where everyone at that group was like, being a better storyteller it requires you to become a more interesting, more thoughtful person. Like you have to elevate yourself as a person. Because I look at all those people that are on stage, I'm like, they're spectacular humans. Like
you would want to be their friends.
You know, Aaron Tharp is like so into like his team, his guys, like the city of Houston. Like he is an interesting person that you can talk to about probably a million different things. And like you see it in the work that they do. And really for him, for instance, like the business that he's grown, it's unbelievable. Like it's unreal. Like, and he's able to do that because he is a very smart, thoughtful, creative person. Same with all those guys. Like Henry, you're like just a cool dude, like who likes to be around people. You see his energy go towards, you know, the couples that he's shooting. And it's just interesting because he's interesting, you know, and he thinks about things differently. So, yeah, inspired to just be creative. I would say it was a creative workshop, probably more than anything. It's like learn how to be creative and become more like the best you that you can be. So
for listeners of the podcast, people on YouTube, obviously subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube.
What are you doing?
YouTube, that's another thing. YouTube. But also go to a workshop. Find something that is inspiring to you. And like I said, we're not workshop people. We're not the type of people who are, that's just not what we have done historically.
And after being at VisionQuest, I was like, I could never do this.
Oh my goodness. It was a lot of work.
Was having like a heart attack the first day.
But like, I would say like find people that you get inspired by and the community that really inspires you, and like, don't settle. That was the other thing I got out of it is like, I've been around some communities and I won't mention them, but things that I've tried to get involved in. And I was like, yuck.
McDonald's community.
No, I love the McDonald's people. Those old people with their senior So awesome. Teen kids and old people.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, like just communities of artists where you're like, this doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't like this. I don't see eye to eye with these people. This relationship doesn't work. It's not going to work. And that's cool.
Names. I want names, Jay.
I'll tell you
Otherwise
after
it
when we
didn't
turn the
count.
cameras off.
Ah, okay.
But like, it's cool. You know, like you don't, if you're not clicking, you don't need to make that stuff. But they're like, I think it is beneficial to try and spend effort trying to connect with people that inspire you. And like, that's even paying them for their time. Like I said, I believe in coaching. I believe in approaching people who Jared knows I'll call anybody.
Yep.
Like, I don't care how important they are. Like, all they can do is reject me, and they already think, if they're that type of person, they already think they're better than me anyway. Or they might be humble and nice.
Yeah.
But find people, add value to them in a tangible way. And like, I think that was a big thing. And if you're listening to this and you're like on the fence about a workshop, or this was our experience with this particular workshop, I'm sure there are a lot of terrible ones out there that stink, or ones that are just not for you. But if you go to a really good one, it can be kind of life-changing and really impact your life in a really positive way, because people are awesome and people are there.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Cool. Well, again, guys, thank you for watching this episode of the Wedding Pros podcast. I don't know, what number is this? 22? Pretty bad at it. 24?
23.
23?
Episode 23. We've done 23. We're gonna about to hit our 25th anniversary soon.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get 100 subscribers or 100 viewers on.
Hey, we're moving up there.
We're getting up there.
What's
guys.
funny is when people will watch the podcast, they're like, whatever, you're not doing this for money. Why are you buying advertising? I'm like, of course I'm doing this for money.
Yeah.
It was like, why are you like watching educational videos?
Yeah.
So you can get paid.
Yeah.
That's not the only reason, guys. We're not using you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. It's like people will say, this one person the other day was like, what did they say? No offense, but this is complete trash.
What was he even referring to?
They're referring to, it was like our Marie Kondo backlog.
Yeah.
They did not like that podcast.
Oh, okay.
I said, well, then you need to take that feeling and release it.
Yeah.
That's what I responded. We love you, haters.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good day, guys.